Hi, good afternoon. I'm so delighted that you decided to join us today. And this is a special film. Dan Schlack did it as a labor of love and spent many, many hours working with poets. I think you'll be happy with what you see. And we'll all be really interested in hearing your responses when the film is over. Lots of good poems, and I hope they reach you. Thanks so much for coming.
When I was in ninth grade, my teacher, Mr. Stieglitz, a tall man with a deep, resonant voice, wrote the following words on the blackboard. Poetry is concise language which affords or describes an experience. I wrote those words in my notebook, and years later, when I became a high school English teacher, I wrote those words on the board for my students. There are two key elements in that statement. The first is that poetry is concise. You can say so much in a few words with poetry. In working with poets and also with my own poetry, my mantra has always been, if in doubt, leave it out. The other part of that statement is that a poem affords or describes an experience. That means that a poem leads you to experience something in a new way. In 2012, I started a poetry writing group at Gail Borden Public Library. In the beginning, we had about 5 people, but over time, the group grew, often attracting as many as 16 people. Well, we were stuffed in the conference room and moved over to the Grove Room. The group was a place that became a sacred space where people felt encouraged and supported as they wrote their poetry and shared them with other people. Today, you're going to hear some different poems because the poets are all so different from each other. So sit back and enjoy. I'm sure you'll find at least one poem that touches your soul.
Water. It came before the light, for that is where God hovers. Deep and dark it is, quite tied up with the moon. She moves it to and fro across the deep. Water, too, is what is most of me, and most of thee as well. And this is most marvelous news, for that is where God hovers.
There's nothing I like better than finding a secluded spot while walking through the woods, maybe a little glade or a place that nobody's really seen too often. This poem's about one such place. Lily pads sprawl across the surface of a secluded pond, lazily lying in each other's laps, languid under slanting rays that filter through the leaves. Dragonflies are lulled into landing afloat on islands of green alongside occasional blooms like dollops of vanilla. Lily pads lounge until a dorsal fin shoulders its way amongst their stems, briefly disobliged, lose interest, while their indolence soothes the ripples.
Several years ago, I got a chance to visit Rhodes, Greece. and I was inspired by their rally of butterflies. Here's my poem, The Valley of Butterflies. At the Valley of Butterflies in Rhodes, Greece, I encountered nature's love affair, feisty flowers, rainbow colors, flying gorgeously everywhere, beyond anybody's reach, fluttering here and there. Once the caterpillars magically turn into animated fairies, gently hugging the trees with their soft and fragile wings. Their inexplicable performance has fully mesmerized thousands of travelers enjoying the splendors of this world, and to be one of them, I am so gratified.
First and foremost, I am a visual artist. Photography and textile art have been both my way of expressing myself and understanding life around me that I have been doing since childhood. The written word for me can be both fun and frustrating. I love writing a good tale or poem, but it has been a long road for this dyslexic mind of mine. Poetry was something I stayed away from. It was my way outside the box creative endeavor. That is why I decided to work more with poetry, see where it took me, have some fun. Writing poetry has helped me to look at the world from a different angle than the visual arts that I create with. It has opened up my world even more, deepening an understanding of the creative process and the world around me. There's a beetle in my apartment, all shiny and dark and coppery green. The legs move from under its belly as it is scooped up in the hanky. It won't let go when placed on the windowsill. The sunlight reflects on the metallic shell. Playing possum, it shows its beauty all shiny and new and coppery green. A leg twitches as it feels its place. The breeze leads it to freedom. 6 legs move it along towards the open window, crawling closer to fresh air, shiny black head facing the outdoors. The legs crawl closer as it poops an orange drop and flies away. It must be spring.
Elephant soup. Elephant soup. My favorite. Can you find the trunk? I always look for the trunk first. I found it. Twisted up there with that funny tail and those column-like legs. There's 1. Yep, 2, 3, 4. Can't miss the ears, so big. Float there like leathery pancakes. And that body, saggy, thick, strong, powerful, easy to see, easy to separate from the others. The head, the massive brain-filled head, right there, right where it should be. And finally, the tusks, those beautiful, bright ivory tusks. I don't see them. Johnny, do you see them? Daddy, Daddy, somebody took the tusks. Dad picked up his gun. Don't worry, sweetie. There's plenty more of where those came from.
The poem I'm about to read represents an appreciation of and respect for nature that my parents instilled with me from a young age. Idea that we are part of the natural world. This idea was strengthened through experiences I shared with Lakota and Cherokee Native American people. My poem, The Willow. Before, whispering willows, speaking soft, gentle breezes, joyfully announcing the sound of clean, cold, succulent life, moving and trickling steady spills over time-washed stone and filtering sand. A scent of green, mossy spring sprinkled with sage, lavender and lilac, surrounded by the songs of sparrows, finches, and more, blending with the cries of the hawk as the soft-soled feet of honest, aware, and respectful ones move through without disturbing, making themselves a part of the harmony, not apart from it. After, weeping willow, softly crying quiet sorrows, sadly telling the tale of gray, murky, lifeless waters, moving quickly over plastic remnants and thick, frothy spills of unnatural origin. A scent of acrid, burning metal and brick mixed with clanging, cutting, breaking sounds, winches and more, blending with the shouts of foremen as thick, metal-toed boots of conquering, careless ones move over without thought beyond self, creating their world from the belief they are apart from it.
Ever walked barefoot after it rains? How about just after sunset? Sonnet 2608, titled, Oh, that kiss. Oh, that delicious wetness as a pure caress on bare feet. Every step down through rich grassy carpets lushly green would woo delight, while I, half heedless, take a tour of evening's vistas, looking to procure a morsel of the lake's dear measures to put down. Rain's lingering kiss well nigh undo my careless tramping with that overture. Ah, tender coolness calling to my soul, the thrushes take a note, and blue jays cry sans pause, and sunset's romance my soul desires still, smiling from the lake. Why not mend your course and stay? I slowly stroll, but oh, how can I leave that kiss untie?
Summer Lilacs by Cynthia Furtick. I used to dream of summer from the depths of lonely 13, disguising myself as a stray blossom as I lay curled beneath the lilacs, a whisper of freedom within my soul. Fireflies lit my imagination as I crossed the vast expanse. Years gone by, tears gone by, lost, largely untouched, remote as a night bird winging across the sky. Summer returned me to myself, no longer severed into bits of flotsam. Casual cruelty embittered my body, my mind. If I could find her, I would apologize for not defending her, as no adult ever did, leaving me to flounder in the choppy waters of school days, speaking rarely, being rarely. Lilacs grew and flowered again as May spilled into June, and that last school bell rang, setting me free, all of me, once again, to be drenched in lilacs.
I'm not much of a poet, or to put it another way, I don't often write in poetic form. But prayers are often in poetic verse, and I do pray a lot. So when I was called upon to write a poem about or inspired by nature, this is what I came up with. My poem is my plant. We are both green and lucky to germinate. I water my seeds in their sod beds. I feed my prayers with words in my bed. Perhaps we will both flower.
Our program has come to an end. I'm hoping that the poems that you have heard today have whet your appetite and you will explore the wonderful collections of poetry available here at Gail Borden Public Library. The poetry writing group here continues to flourish. Right now, we're meeting on Zoom, and if you would like to register to join us, just go to the library's website. We're hoping relatively soon we will be able to be safe enough to return to our home in the Grove Room. New people are always welcome, even if it's just to listen. And if you have a hankering to write your own poem, just remember this: a poem cannot be good or bad, the way milk can be sweet or sour.
Well, now you have an opportunity to ask some questions or make some comments to the poets. Couple things that I've seen so far was, where were the lily pads photographed in Ron Smallick's poem? And if you were looking at the chat, he said that the lily pads were filmed in the heart of summer at a special place my sister took me. And so people were saying nice things. Someone said, another beautiful presentation. Thank you all for sharing your poems. I always love this annual event. I think you're thinking of our event on the 25th. This is kind of an encapsulation of what you will be able to see on the 25th. Of course, not with all the wonderful photography behind it, but our poets are working on that and are looking forward to presenting that to you at a later time. I was looking to see if anybody has any good questions. I want to ask the poets, how did having your poem filmed affect you? What did that do for you when you were having your poem filmed? Ken, did you have an answer to that?
It just was a totally different feeling because it became a collaboration with Dan, and it expanded. You know, a poem alone, when you read it or recite it, it's one art form. But when you add the video to it, it enlivens it to me, and it was really fun to see how that would work out in collaboration.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Does anyone else want to make a comment about that, about the filming? I was wondering, how did having your poem film make you feel? Robin, did you have something you wanted to say about that?
Yeah. I really didn't take it very seriously until I saw it, and then I thought, oh, I probably should have put on some makeup.
Oh, that's good. Well, I know that Dan really enjoyed working with all of you. It meant a lot to him, and I'm just really glad that you all have that opportunity to do that. Let me see what someone said to me. I don't know if you're all looking at the chat over there. Let's see. Somebody was asking about the event on the 25th. And the event on the 25th will be a live reading of about 46 poems. Please register just the way you registered for this. Okay, you register for that and pass it on, to as many people as you know, because it's always the more the merrier. And someone said that they thought Robin looked beautiful. And anything else? Yeah, I think now someone said like the top, so soothing, restful, delightful, peaceful, thought-provoking. Not too bad. What do you love about poetry? I mean, what makes you do it? What do you love about doing it? Okay,
What
Marcia.
I like is I'm a photographer, so sometimes I miss good shots. They just get missed and so poetry fills in. You can use the poetry to bring out the visual that you saw, but you also, it goes deeper than a photograph because with the words, you're also adding the emotions, especially when you read it. When you read it, you can add those emotions in your voice. Especially here where I am, when we were put on a strict lockdown, we had only 1 hour we could go out and exercise. So there were people around trying to enjoy what they could. And as a street photographer, I did not take pictures of these people because even though they were on public property, they were in their own space. So what I did was I ended up writing a lot of poetry about what I saw, heard, experienced during that time. And poetry gave me that freedom. And I think the impactment of the poetry opposed to a photo was much stronger.
Okay. Well, what's interesting is that you all have a different process by which you write poems, and you're very much stimulated by the visual, and because that's where you're at. You're an artist, and
Also are poets.
Huh?
Poets are artists too. I'm a visual artist.
You're a visual artist. You're an amazing visual artist. Okay, let's look at a couple more things I've seen in the chat. I'm not sure if you're all seeing it. Let's see. Okay, Ron said that he liked filming the exact video matching your poem. It's like adding color to your imagination, and it helped to visualize a feeling being conveyed. Someone said there was a question about sonnets as well. I think someone said something to the effect that they never realized that that sonnets could come alive like this. Let me go back where it said. I don't see it. Does anyone see a question about sonnets? I don't see it.
Somebody just asked if we could talk about sonnets, I think.
Yeah, that would be.
I wish Jenny was able to be here.
Yeah.
That would be Jenny. Jenny,
do you want to say something about sonnets, Jen, at all?
I think they're muted.
They're muted, yeah. You can unmute yourself, Jenny, if you want to say something about sonnets. Jenny and Cynthia are at the South Elgin Library at a computer. And
okay, now you can hear us, right?
Yeah.
I was unable to. We forgot that we were muted, but now we discovered it. It depends on what you want to know about sonnets, because I was thinking about that en route anyway. I mean, I had been introduced to sonnets. I hadn't originally set out to be a sonneteer. I wonder how many people do. But I found in joining poetry groups originally online that it appeared to be the goal of people who intended to establish themselves as bona fide or authentic, genuine poets and poetesses, that you had to at least pull off one sonnet before you went to the grave. So I joined the club, and having at 19, which would be 1994, picked up a book and picked up an original copy of David M. Maine's Treasury of English Sonnets textbook expose, left it aside. I picked it up back in 2010 when I joined these poetry groups and fell in love with sonnets, so that I ended up actually wanting to join the sonneteers, especially the sonneteers that I loved. I have had that comment like you were expressing, Gareth, where people have said after they've heard me read sonnets, on the occasion they've heard me read it, I didn't know you could, I thought maybe you were going to read it like da 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 da. I didn't know it could, and that's the thing I wish people would understand. We cage the thought. It's literally a gilded cage. 14 lines, iambic pentameter. We put it in that cage, but what that cage does, that gilded cage as I call it, it hones the thought. And I wouldn't insist that everybody writes a sonnet, but if you can learn how to put your thought, insert your thought into that gilded cage, it is fascinating for you personally, if not others, to find what comes out when you force that thought into that gilded cage. Because I understand people's complaint that, oh, well, I can't make myself do that. I can't make myself force that thought into 14 lines, into iambic pentameter. I mean, give me a break. I need my freedom. It's like, no, I understand. Okay, I'm a person too, but it's fascinating if you do buckle down and say, I will do that. What the beauty that comes out. Anyway, sorry I said too much.
That's okay. So Jenny has really enlightened us all. And it's been a learning curve for us as well. The question that somebody had written was, I always thought sonnets were a dead form, something Shakespeare wrote. I'm interested in how this has become revived in our day and age. I don't think it ever died. I mean, there have been poets who have been writing sonnets, just not as many. And I do know that in some formal poetry writing classes at universities, that's something they have everybody do. So just because it's a form, and as Jenny said, it is a cage. By limiting what you do, by giving you a structure, it's a challenge. It's a challenge, and it's not a challenge that everybody can meet. Jenny is really spectacular in the amount. She's very, very prolific and has written many, many, many sonnets. We all admire her ability to do that.
Gareth, can I add something?
Sure.
I understand about that gilded cage, because the first poem that I actually ever wrote was not when I came to the writers group, although that's really what made me write poetry, was coming to the poetry writers group. But the first time I actually composed a poem, it's kind of an amusing story. I was in my bathroom, and in my bathroom, I have a little magnetic board with words on it for entertainment purposes. And one day I had a little time in the bathroom, and I just started futzing around. The interesting thing was these poems started to come, and I realized that it was because I was constrained that I was able to do it.
Interesting. You mean
it was the constraint that it forced something. Look at Jenny, she's shaking her head. It forced something out of me, and I was shocked that, like, oh my gosh, this is a real poem. So the same thing, like, I don't know if I'll ever take on a sonnet, but I can appreciate what having a constraint can force the creative process into fruition. And the poetry writers group also gives me a constraint, because typically Gareth is very well prepared, and she gives us a prompt. So I'm not very good at writing poems in between our monthly meetings, but boy, invariably when we get together and there's a prompt, something usually comes. So it's kind of interesting.
Well, it always amazes me the way so many of the people in the group will write something in such a short amount of time. It just kind of blows my mind. I mean, all I can figure is that with all the other things that are going on in people's lives, they don't take the time to sit down and write a poem. But given as this time limited space, if the idea comes, they just take it away, which is it's fun, you know. Okay, let's see. We've been asked for, I know some of you have mentioned it a little bit already, but you're going to tell us a little bit about your creative process. Do you have something to say about that, Ron?
I think I generally write poems in one of two ways. The first way would be to just get a small phrase or even just a word that maybe has a syllable or a phonetic, and kind of give it a little bit of water and watch it grow into a poem, and repeat or wrap it in that phonetic. The other way, which I think is a lot of fun, is to write something out longhand or with many more words, or take something I've seen, like a Ray Bradbury poem, or maybe like my sister's high school experience, and then just slowly chop it down like you're carving a block of marble until what's left is that concise language that you talked about at the beginning, that the poem of taking someone else's words and rearranging them and simplifying them into something beautiful is a lot of fun for me.
That's neat. Ed, did you want to say anything about your creative process?
My creative process. You know, for me, poetry has always been one of the most direct ways of writing. And for me, that process is experiential. And although I might have an experience and an emotion that goes with it at that moment, on the other hand, and this is one of the things for me as far as poetry grows in the creative process, is it may not come together at that moment. And, you know, that's, in terms of the economy of words, that's part of the process for me, because I may be out taking a walk, I may be engaged and play with my children, and just see something that at that moment strikes a chord in me, even if it's not about that moment, even if it's about something that I've reflected on previously. And then the poem is bringing that forth, and hopefully, if I've done it correctly, using words in a way that allows other people to visually, hopefully beyond visually, have that experience. You know, so that if I come to a realization about something, or if I have a strong emotion that's related to an experience, either one of those two things will bring me to write about it. And then it becomes what you had spoken about in terms of the economy of words. What are the best words to bring that across simply and directly?
Thanks so much, Ed. Irfan, did you want to say anything about your creative process? I know you're both muted and invisible momentarily. There you go. Whoops. You can talk. Well, we wouldn't mind seeing you. There you go. Okay, great.
You can see me, right? Yeah, well, the best time for me to write poem is early in the morning, when my mind is so fresh. Anything from 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. 7 a.m. And, you know, I sit quietly. Sometimes I do some meditation before I write poetry, and let the words and memories run through my mind, and jot down the phrases, thoughts, especially the ones with the sights, sounds, smells, and feelings. And then I reorganize all the phrases and lines and keep on revising and editing. And finally, when I'm satisfied, this is my poem, looks like a good poem, then I start reading it. You know,
Yeah, and what you're talking about, about that process of revision,
yeah.
and that is key, I guess. That you have to just let it come out the way it does the first time, and then just be ready to change things. We have one poet in our group who she's not on the panel today, and she did not record a poem, but she's been known to write 14, 15 different drafts of a poem before it's exactly the way she wants it to be, and impresses us a bit with that tenacity. Let's see, what does this say?
So Garrett, there's a question about topics.
Yeah, I was looking at that. Are there topics you won't write about?
So I can comment from my own personal perspective about that. So for me, sometimes when I'm too emotional about a topic, I cannot write. Like sometimes poetry is a way of working through some negative feelings that I have, and a poem will come. But when it's too deeply, when I'm dealing with some emotion that's too deep, I can't write about it. It's not that I wouldn't write about it, it's that no words will come. So I have to have a certain amount of like emotional healing before I can write. So that's my process, and I'm not saying that's a global process.
No, but that was a good, excellent question. Are there topics you won't write about? Are there topics that are off limits? On the flip side, what is the one poem you really want to write? Ken, do you have a thought about that?
Well, my situation, my case, doesn't seem to be a topic that I won't write about. And as far as a poem I want to write, but I write them. If it comes to me and the thought comes to me or the lines come to me, then I will write it. I can't think of a poem that an idea that I haven't written about or touched on in some way, but don't really have any limits when it comes to the poem.
Yeah, I would say that too, that there usually isn't a limit for most poets. I mean, you just do it. What might happen, of course, is that you won't share that poem. I mean, if you write something that is too provocative, or in our particular case, if you swear a lot in your poem or something like that, you might not want other people to see it. Okay, and I definitely tell people that we're not going to film those kind of poems, but sometimes you need to write them. So I don't know. I don't think, Tish, that any topic is, taboo to most poets.
If I could add something to it, it's about this writing group. For those of you not involved, very nice about this group is that there is no judgment. So those of all walks come in and they write what they can and they present it to the group to get some positive feedback, and that's pretty unusual for a poet group.
Well, thank you. I think it's to all the poets' credit that they helped me let that atmosphere evolve over time. And you never know if it's going to work the way you want it to, but I'm very happy. I don't like groups where people tear each other's work apart. I don't think it's necessary, because what most poets want is just to have an audience and to be able to share it with other people. And it's special when you can do that. Okay, Marcia was saying that it goes both ways. The visual brings a poem in mind, and like the one I presented tonight, and other times the poem comes first. Okay, so it can be either or. Well, we started on this topic a little bit, but I wanted to ask everybody to answer this question. How has being in the poetry writing group make you grow as a poet?
I can answer that.
Okay.
I think I'm one of the newer folks to the group. I just joined a little over a year ago. And up until that point, I had written a lot, but shared very little. And the first day I joined your group, I think there were 22 people there. And everybody just shared so freely and accepted what each other was writing that I was like, okay, cool, I can share anything. And it kind of, just encouraged me to open up and just share anything after that. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're a great addition to our group, and just so you know, Ron has been incredibly helpful as we work to organize our program that's going to be on the 25th, Poetry Alive, and he takes relish in helping people. So I am delighted that he's doing that, and should be an exciting presentation that day. And we're hope that you can come to see it. I was trying to see if there's anything else that people have to say on here. Someone said,
Gareth.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be a poet if it wasn't for poetry writers group. And I'm still not sure I am, but the feedback I get kind of leads me to believe that maybe I'm writing some poems. And the other thing I wanted to share that I didn't share about the experience of doing the filming was seeing the finished product is just so moving. Mm-hmm. I feel like I'm in just great company, and the visuals added to the words were just really brings the poems to life, and the music. And even like the graphic effects or visual effects, like especially like with Ken's poem, that was just, it's such a delightful experience to be a part of it.
With the elephants, that was, yeah.
Just to see the finished product is like, wow, who knew? This is Elgin, I just feel cool.
I know this is about the poets, but I must say, it was very interesting how about the first time Dan and I got together. I think I talked about appreciating wildlife, and proceeded to show me the films and photos he took of his trip to Africa, I think the year before. And I was able to see these, and I had them, and I said, well, Dan's got these photos. And it was just it was a real coincidence, but
it was a real collaborative effort. And yeah.
I heard the word coincidence, so I have to jump in. And I saw an earlier question about whether the poem came first or the video. For me, I felt it was a total coincidence, and like 90% of my life is following a trail of coincidences. But I knew we were going to do a video. I think we were all talking about what might the theme be. And then I drove past a place that I had known was there all my life, but never before seen lily pads there. And I stopped, and I just wanted to take a picture of it. And then the poem happened. So for me, the coincidence of knowing there was going to be a video, seeing a place that was there that I'd never noticed before, and the poem all came at once. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. Okay, it looks like Barbara Noose is raising her hand. I'm not quite sure what I do with that.
Yeah, I can take care of that, Gareth.
Okay, all right. Let Barbara Noose. Whoops, what did I do? Okay, yeah, okay.
Okay, Barbara, you should be able to unmute.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, you can talk now.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
There was a Holocaust program that was supposed to be an hour from 1 to 2 and went till 3. So I missed the first part. So is the wonderful video available for reviewing?
Are you?
I'll send you a link
Oh,
as
Thank
soon as this is over.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
we also are taping this, so it'll be on our YouTube channel for you to watch the whole program later.
Okay, that's great.
Like 15
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, somebody else raised their hand there, Sadia. I'm not sure.
Got it.
You got it? Okay.
Oh wait, no, I think that was still Barbara or.
Oh, okay.
Oh no, I've got a panelist. Gareth, you raised your hand.
I did? Oh, I mean, oh, okay, let me, oh, stop. Okay, it says lower hand. Okay. I've never, no, it went away. Okay, great. Yes, you're fine.
Yeah, I would say that it's great working as a team with all the poets, and the credit goes to Gareth. He made us a great team.
Oh, thank you. It's my pleasure just to watch everybody grow as poets. And it's also my pleasure to watch people become friends. I mean, that's a very, very special thing. And we're all longing to get back to the Grove Room. And we're all longing to do fun stuff like to go to somebody's house and read poems, and or go to the public house and just enjoy each other's company. So slowly but surely, you know, we have to kind of think ahead, because we know that it will eventually, you know, be possible. I would encourage people, though, to join us on Zoom in the first Monday of the month, because that's where we are right now, and we certainly welcome anybody all the time. And it's great to see people. It really is.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
and you can come even if you don't want to write a poem. You can just come for the ear candy.
Good word. I'm kind of curious. Do any of you have any particular advice you would give somebody if they just want to try to write a poem and never have done it before?
Just do it.
Just do it.
Just think of any topic, you know, just start writing, you know, just begin writing.
Yeah.
You're not too old for anything, you know, just be creative, keep going.
It's the simple magic of spontaneity.
Was that you, Cynthia?
Yeah,
spontaneity. Yeah. Well, and the one thing that I say is that don't judge yourself. Don't judge yourself. Just, you know, take that piece of you that judges and throw it out the window and just write. And if you have to start with prose, that's fine. Eventually you might keep cutting it down. That's what Ron was saying before, right? And you cut it down and eventually it becomes a poem.
And one thing you could do is, if you're thinking of a thing, try to find a verb that goes with that. If you're thinking of a color, try to find a sound. If you're thinking of a smell, try to find a feel. So find an opposite word that complements whatever your subject is, and just see where it takes you.
Yeah.
I was going to say that I read a lot of people's writing that is excellent prose, and I sort of feel like let go of the rules and let it come out in forms that maybe you don't even know yet, but express yourself freely, and you'll be surprised.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think for me, what's lovely about a poem is that, you know, you can read it like over and over and over and over. It doesn't take you a long time, you know. So you've written your poem, and it's you. It's part of what you want to say, or what you've experienced, what you've seen, and it's this little thing that you can keep reading and reading over and over again. And it's very, very, very satisfying, at least to most of us, to be able to do that. And you have that little piece of yourself that's out there for the world. Yes, you're fine. Were you going to say
Yeah.
something?
Yes, I define poetry is a spiritual software, just like any software, written to heal our hearts and souls. That's how I define poetry.
Do this. It was a joy that's carried me through the pandemic.